We're going to look at the Tone Gnome Otto Drive today, and we're going to look at some sound examples using a Fender Strat and a Gibson Les Paul. Chosen because they're at opposite ends of the tonal spectrum, the Strat providing the bright, clear, crisp sounds that they're famous for, and the Les Paul a much woodier and more full-bodied tone. Hopefully, you'll be able to tell by the end of the video the variety of tones that the Tone Gnome can produce. Looks a bit scary at first, because we've got 6 knobs on there, we've got 4 switches and 2 foot switches, but in actual fact, if you regard it as 2 separate overdrives in one box, everything becomes a lot simpler. We've got a high gain overdrive on that side of the pedal and a low gain overdrive on that side. The reason for its development was simply that I was trying to get everything out of one overdrive pedal and couldn't find a pedal that did everything I wanted. Even with additional gain boost or level boosts, they never sounded quite right to me. I could never get the EQ to work properly from both halves of the pedal. So eventually, after 3.5 years of sweating and tweaking and scores of gigs, this is the pedal that came into being, and I'll just go through the control functions and the switch functions with you. Either side is the same, so we're looking here. This is the low gain side. We've got a volume control, a drive or gain control, and a tone control, which simply cuts treble. We've also got 2 switches. The one at this side is a 2-position switch, and that alters the diode clipping, which changes the texture of the overdrive. And this switch is an EQ switch, which has 3 positions, and basically it's working on the bass part of the EQ. Over to that side, we've got a mild bass boost. In the middle, we've got no bass boost at all. And then over to this side, we've got the maximum bass boost. Really useful, because usually as you pile on the gain, you need to cut bass to stop things getting muddy, and that switch comes in really useful for that. It's also very handy if you're using something like a Strat or a Les Paul and you need to EQ for that particular guitar. Putting it across the maximum bass boost will really warm up a Strat, and putting it in the middle and cutting the bass boost will make the neck pickup on a Les Paul sound nice and clear. Here we've got an on-off switch, which turns the pedal on and off, just a normal foot switch, and the other switch on the other side toddles between the 2 halves of the pedal. That means you can turn the pedal on and be working with a nice crunchy sound, and then on one switch you can move to a higher gain lead sound. You can also set this more clean and jangly and move to a higher gain lead, and you'll see that demonstrated a little bit later on in the video. Okay, we're going to start by looking at the Strat on the low gain half of the Otto Drive. And first of all, just as a reference, here's the clean tone, just a little bit of delay, no Otto Drive, nothing else in. So that's just the clean sound of the amp. Okay, so we're going to have a look with the Fender Strat at the low gain half of the Otto Drive. 2 slight examples just to show the difference in the switching of the EQ and the texture. Here we go. Now we're going to move the EQ switch and the texture switch to give more warmth to the bottom end and a different texture to the overdrive. Not altering any of the other controls. Okay, we're now going to look at the high gain half of the Otto Drive. Using the Strat again, I'm going to use a musical example which we're going to listen to twice. First time with the EQ switch in the centre, which is the least amount of bass, and the second time with it over to the right hand side, which is the most amount of bass. But first of all, just a quick example of the clean setting on the amp as a reference. So that's just the clean amp and a little bit of delay, and now we're switching in the Otto Drive and off we go. And this is with the minimum amount of bass. I'm now going to switch the EQ switch across and warm up the sound. Okay, we're now just going to look at a quick bit of single note playing just so you can hear the Strat again through the high gain half of the Otto Drive. First of all, the clearest setting, similar to the other example, and then with a little bit more bass to add a little warmth to the sound. So here we go. Clear first. And now we're going to warm the sound up a little bit, simply by moving the EQ switch across to the right. As I said, it's been 3 years in development, perhaps a little bit more now. It's done scores of gigs. I really like the pedal. It does everything I need to do in terms of overdrive, and probably the only two questions to answer are really, is that Father Christmas? No, it's not. Everybody thinks it is. That's a Tone Gnome, that is. And why the Otto Drive? Well, it's called the Otto Drive after my pet cat, Otto, who's probably heard more overdrives than most people have had hot dinners. So thanks for watching the video.